Jules Hall, Wendy Tuck. Well done, you're here.
That was good.
How was it?
It was great. We had a lot of fun, hey, Wendo?
It was brutal, but it was so much fun. I don't know why we're still smiling and laughing right now. It was tough.
That last 12 hours or so must have been pretty full on, was it, Jules?
Oh, it was very full on. I think we probably had, 6-metre waves and 43 knots I think we saw.
Wow, yeah.
So, but it was steadily 30 to 35 for the last 12, 18 hours. But it wasn't just that. It was like the first night was a disaster for us. Like we got stuck on the inside, the breeze was on the outside. Then we caught them up. Then we went well in Bass Strait. We went bad at the back half of Bass Strait. Then we so it's been an emotional
roller coaster.
It was a roller coaster. It was ups and downs.
Yeah.
And that Tasman Island rounding today was probably the worst I've ever had ever. I
Really?
think 6-metre swells gusting up to 30s and early 40s and stuff. It was just nuts.
And it's very hard to get rounded, isn't it? It just seems to go on forever.
It does. You think you're around it. It's like, oh no, I'm still there. I'm still in the same place. I probably stuck twice. It was nuts. It was brutal, but it was great to have the guys on board.
Yeah, so tell us about it, the youngsters and so on. How did they go? They go well?
Oh, they were awesome.
Yeah.
They stepped up. They were just brilliant. And it was just, there's all these young boy jokes that I don't get, but I still laughed at. And, so much going on the boat I don't understand. But they were just brilliant.
Yeah.
They were awesome.
I think that was the highlight for me of the race, has been the attitude of the whole team.
Yeah.
And that sense of support and fun.
Yeah.
And team, just being a great team. Like we've had a lot of adversity. We lost our engine. 18 hours, yesterday morning, so a day and a half before the finish. So that was a major issue, trying to manage that.
You had an electrician on board, Nathan tells me.
Yeah, we did. So Mark was going through all the wiring. We ended up taking the motor starter battery, using that for that house battery, so we could keep everything going. So and then lots of breakages, but just cosmetic breakages.
Yeah.
The hull, the rig, the sails were all good.
Yeah.
And then it got pretty windy and rough, but the attitude people took to it was brilliant. And Wendo, you were awesome for that.
Oh, thank you.
The way you just made it all funny.
Which is hard to make it funny, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. There's nothing else to do, is there?
Yeah.
Everyone can be grumpy, cold, and miserable, but it's like, you just got to laugh about it, don't you?
Yeah.
Because everyone's in the same boat, literally. That was a really bad pun, wasn't it? But no, you just got to enjoy it. At the end of the day, sailing, and it's all those facets. It'd be so boring if it was beautiful and sunny and downwind every day.
Yeah.
And I think if you just stop and look at it for a minute and go, this is pretty extraordinary. Nature is extraordinary.
Yeah.
It was pretty extraordinary today.
Yeah.
So tell us about the start.
The start.
Oh, the start, did you say? Or
No, I said nature was pretty extraordinary today.
Oh, yeah,
Like
absolutely.
coming around Cape Raoul was pretty scary, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's a lee shore.
Yeah, right.
The current was along the shore, and we had to tack to make it.
Wow.
And the waves were big waves, and they were breaking on the top.
Yeah.
We didn't have an engine, so
Jesus,
you're like, if something goes wrong, there's
all
not
sorts of
many
trouble.
ways out just here on this shore. And then the rain squalls would come and someone's throwing darts in your face. Just really.
God, they were darts, weren't they? And then they get in your eyes as well. It's like, okay, now I can't see, but it's probably important that I do see where I'm going because these waves are huge. It was. But I think for me,
You're painting a great picture for anyone who wants to do this race.
take-up sailing is fabulous. But for me, I think because we have 3 on a watch, I was steering and I had Mark in front of me on main sheet, and every time we'd get these waves, it would come over you that you actually lifted off the deck and stuff. Mark would always turn around to make sure I'm there, as I see his legs floating in front of my face in the wave. But he'd always turn around to make sure I'm there. Well, if all this is happening, then Nathan saw some seals, so we all stopped and had a look at seals for a moment. So you still had those moments that, even though you're probably a little bit terrified, you got to stop and go, oh look, there's some seals. What? And we all went at the seals, as you do.
So, Jules, you had a pretty rough start to the Fastnet as well, and there was water over the deck. How was it this time round?
Well, the Fastnet was really windy, but the waves weren't very big. And I think that's the big difference here.
Yeah.
You've got those, and it was only when you got to Tasman Island and you got that big Southern Ocean basically pushing in there.
Yeah.
And the waves are big. They're really big.
Yeah.
And then they're starting to break on top in the odd spot.
Yeah.
And so it was probably windier at the Fastnet start.
Yeah.
But it was bigger waves in this one.
We were talking to Cian McCarthy and Sam Hunt, the Irish guys on Cinnamon Girl, and they do Round Ireland and Fastnet and everything else. And I think it was, it must have been, maybe it was Sam Hunt, no, it was Cian, who said, you know, the thing about this difference here, apart from the waves, which is shocking, he said, was in the Fastnet, there's good and bad. That was just all bad.
That's a good analogy.
I was thinking, we met them obviously a few times before the start. I was wondering what they were thinking as that race played out.
Yeah, no, they had a pretty tough race, but they're here and the whole family here with them as well. So tell us, I mean, it's one of the things that's been really interesting for us doing all these interviews is there's some, thank you, there's a lot of young guns coming through now. So you've got the Alice Parkers, the Andy Greens, people taking that navigation seriously as well. And then Richard's been mentoring a lot of those guys, Richard Hudson with him. It's really good to see you guys taking on the next level. Do you feel like there's a sort of next generation coming through that are really going to be good sailors?
Oh, absolutely. But I think you've got to look at it the other way as well. It's very selfish of us because you learn so much from those young guys.
Yeah.
Stuff you might have learned a long time ago that you've forgotten, and it gives you this new energy as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're a bit like a vampire there. You're sucking out of them as well, not just giving them opportunities as well. So
Yeah.
it does work both ways.
Yeah, fair enough. And food? You managed to keep enough with you? And,
Yeah, we did.
You're okay?
I think going back to that point,
Yeah.
what we did that worked really well was we took a whole group
Yes.
from the youth academy. So they were
Yes.
4 of them who are mates and know each other. And I think that's a good insight
Yeah.
for other boats is
Yeah.
don't cherry pick the odd young sailor. Take a group who know each other, and then it works really well.
Yeah. Yeah, and interestingly, we're doing a piece of advertising here. We've done a thing called Campaign Essentials with Mark Bradford, and we're talking about pulling a campaign together, and he just said, it's just like business, employ for attitude. That's really what it's about, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Employ for attitude because then they learn and they pick up knowledge from the experienced sailors, but they take that knowledge and they put their spin on it.
Right,
And that's
okay.
when it gets really interesting.
Yeah, cool. And navigationally, was it a really tough race? I mean, nobody knew what was going on at the beginning, but did it sort of pan out?
It was throw it down at a dartboard, wasn't
Yeah.
it? And it stayed like that for a long time. We actually made a joke about it today when Jules last night said, okay, the weather's going to do this at this time. At 10 p.m. you're going to have the wind from this direction. It came in at 10 past 10 and it was like, we had to take a joke about, well, I was going to say take the piss, but I probably can't say that. Take the piss out of Jules because you were 10 minutes late because it had been wrong the whole race and that was the closest. Everything had been wrong. Everything had been wrong. So when it actually finally was right, it was like, well, but you were 10 minutes late, so hello.
Hey, but that's because I've heard that there's a few other people have the same issue. It sounds like everyone.
Correct.
Like, going, why?
Yeah.
Is every grid file from a different direction? Every current file is different.
And just a matter of technically, did you have Starlink?
No,
Did you use it?
I
No,
wish we
okay.
did.
Yeah,
I
sort
really
of
wish we did.
a few mixed reports, but generally speaking, most people were just saying extraordinary, just the data you can get and how quickly. And
Particularly with those, when you had the diversity of current grids, being able
Yeah.
to see the satellite image of sea surface temperature,
right.
then you know which current file to use.
Okay, so explain that to anybody, myself included. How are you working that? What are you looking for in that? And what's the sea temperature doing for you?
So you've got the East Australia current,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is the warm water from the tropics coming
Yeah,
down.
yeah.
And when it hits the Bass Strait, it eddies into currents and you get back eddies.
Right.
And the warm water is from the north coming south, and when it goes back up north, it's colder.
Right.
Now the problem was we kept finding the cold water. So we can see that on the temperature,
Yeah, right.
but we don't know whether to go left or right.
Yeah.
But when you can see the satellite image, which is, it's not a prediction, it's an observation of what the temperature is, you can start to go, well, I need to go a bit further left or a bit further right, and I'll get into the favourable current where we
okay.
were, which was the unfavourable current.
Well, the one thing you probably missed was the finish for the line honours, which was absolutely extraordinary.
I know, I just had
You
someone tell
probably
me
heard about
I
it.
haven't watched
Absolutely
yet, but it
amazing.
sounds
It
like
was
you have to
match
watch
racing for the last half an hour, and Law Connect from 3 miles behind just worked herself into it and then did some beautiful tactical work. It was really something to watch.
3 miles behind.
3 miles behind as they came into the river, and they were straight lining to start with. And I foolishly was calling it and said, I think they've got this on Andu Comanche, you know. And then sure enough, of course, it pans out the top of the river and they're going round
And
the
they
side.
made some quite
They just,
extraordinary
it was fantastic to watch. It was really something else. But
definitely.
yeah, it's been a really unusual race.
Very unusual.
Interestingly, I was talking to the Met girl, sorry, the Met woman, Gabrielle, that's right,
Gabrielle.
for the race, and I said, is this really unusual? And she said, it's not unusual, but it's really difficult to know what to do with it, you know, as a low. Have you experienced something like that high-level low, just sitting around throwing off bombs all over the place before, Wendy?
Not for so long, no.
Yeah,
It's just all this being over land stuff that makes it tricky, isn't it?
Yeah,
Heavier land
yeah.
and all those troughs. There was troughs just sitting there for days and days
Yeah,
and days or
yeah.
weeks, wasn't there?
Yeah.
So it was just all, and that's
Yeah.
what made it all so hard, wasn't
Yeah,
it? You didn't
yeah.
know which way it was going to go, and nothing behaved as a normal pattern as what you'd expect. And that's
Yeah.
what made it so tricky to try and predict what would happen.
Yeah. So just finally, what's the game plan, A, with Disco Trooper and with this group as well? You've got a sponsor in Clogs, so we should thank him,
We
shouldn't we?
should definitely thank Contender. They've been amazing.
Yeah,
And Ian
yeah.
Short Sales as well. Like,
Okay, yeah.
been very supportive of the programme.
Yeah.
And we had some good secret weapons. Always a secret weapon in
Yeah,
Crosby.
I know.
Got a
We've
couple
heard
of
about
good
the
ones.
secret weapons before.
They came good this time.
Yeah.
And I think the plan is probably go to Customs House fairly shortly and
Discuss it.
and work it out in there.
Well done to you both, very experienced sailors in taking that young group with you, and it's lovely to see you here and feeling like they've made a big contribution back, so that's brilliant. Thanks guys, really appreciate that.
Thank you.